this public financial management system is a web-based online integrated system which has been developed in-house by my organization. This PFMS has brought about a transformative change. It's been a game changer, and you will see it across how when I run through the slides. This has digitized the entire ecosystem of the financial public management in the union government. And now the reach has extended to the second tier of the governance, which is the state government, and the third tier of governance, which is even the urban local bodies. Just to give you a snapshot, what is the scale and the spread of the PFMS? Right? We handle close to 2.5 billion transactions in a year. Well, these are not small numbers, right? And this is all completely digitized. We handle close to 27 lakh crores. Well, you would have an idea. The total budget size of the government of India is close to how much? Around 45 lakh crores, right? That's the one. So basically, we handle two-third of the union budget. That's the scale and the size of the PFMS. How many transactions? Let's say on a daily basis, the system can cater to 25 million peak transactions in a single day. You all would be aware that, as and when the financial year closes, let's say in the month of March, you would be having some knowledge about, the quarterly limits when the budget is allocated, the quarterly limits, right? And the monthly limits of expenditure. Generally, there's always a rush of expenditure in the last quarter, or maybe in the last month, or maybe I would say the last week. You'll realize that, as and when you'll work in various departments. So obviously the number of transactions go up. So that's the kind of transaction. Recently I had been to, last week I was invited to an international conference on public financial management in USA. And there I heard that some of the smaller countries, इतने ट्रांजेक्शन तो उनके साल भर में नहीं होते हैं जितने कि हम लोग डेली बेसिस पे कई बार पीक ट्रांजेक्शन हैंडल करते हैं. 1.2 million unique user logins in a single day. And how many implementing agencies? Just 35 lakh implementing agencies. Let's take example of centrally sponsored schemes. Centrally sponsored scheme alone has around 15 lakh implementing agencies spread all over the country. They all are onboarded on PFMS. They all are registered on PFMS. And then I'll show you in my presentation what is the benefit which accrues to all the stakeholders, whether the central government, the state government, the third tier of governance, and ultimately the citizen. This involves integration with all the banks. So we have been able to integrate with all the banks, all the public sector banks, all the private sector banks, the cooperative banks, the rural banks, right? All of them are integrated, and there's a daily exchange of information, not daily exchange, I would say, real-time exchange of data between the bank portal and the PFMS. External systems, you would have heard in Narega Soft. I think some of you who would have you had your village rural visit? You had a village visit? Some of you obviously would have seen all these schemes getting implemented. So every department, has come out with their own IT system. Let's say Narega. They have a Narega Soft. So what happens that every day when the laborers work and when they complete their work, the beneficiary data is uploaded on Narega Soft. Now that's a beneficiary detail. Now, when the beneficiary details are uploaded, so that is integrated with the public financial management system. So on a daily basis, the consolidation takes place of the total amount. Let's say Madhya Pradesh has uploaded some 2 lakh, details of workers who worked yesterday, right? So the total amount, what is due to them, the wage component, that is calculated, and on a daily basis, the amount is transferred back to the state. It doesn't go to the state. Actually, it goes through the state directly to the beneficiary's account. So that's the kind of interface what we have. And if you go to the website, actually, if you want to really find out a single laborer who has worked, what's his name, in which village he worked, whether he worked on a digging of a well or maybe of a road, and how many hours he worked and what's the payment he got, that's the kind of transparency we're talking about. And this is all possible through this interface of PFMS with the individual departmental softwares, like the PM Kisan or maybe the PEHEL and all the DBT schemes. 570 million unique identity of beneficiaries. Well, these are the people actually, there's a database We know that, you all know that Aadhaar based payment also takes place in the DBT, and 1.4 billion pay ID. What are pay IDs? These are the beneficiaries, right? These are the beneficiaries. Now you would say that this is something more than the population, obviously, because one could be receiving the benefits in more than one scheme. Like, the student may be receiving scholarship under National Scholarship Portal. Maybe the mother, maybe the father, may be working in Narega, so they may be getting wages. Maybe the children may be going to midday meal school. So obviously the beneficiary IDs are much more. 110 terabytes. I think those people who do hand software, they're the one who be aware. I mean, this is a huge database. We recently had someone from CertFin, which is agency basically which looks into the cyber security issues. So the official whom we involved, he literally jumped on the chair. He says, is that the kind of database what we handle? Yes, that's the kind of database we handle. So then, why I'm saying all that? Because this will have huge implications in terms of what do we do with the data and how intelligent we become, and then we'll come to the issue of data analytics and how we're using basically the tools for better decision making. I think there I'll stop. Then I'll come about. So as I said, this has been made absolutely in-house, developed by Country General of Accounts. We didn't engage any international consultant. As I said, the spread and the scale you would have seen. This is not something, and I think going by the Honorable Prime Minister's vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat, this has been a software, a PFMS system, web-based system, completely designed, developed, rolled and implemented by the Office of Country General of Accounts. Then we have the partnership. NIC is our technological partner. And yes, we do take the help of private sector companies, so we do engage them for the outsourcing, but the overall design, the development is all driven by us. That's the PFMS mandate in brief. What does the PFMS do? One is digitization of the payments, right? Now, as you know, in payments, what happens when the payment takes place? Every payment in Government of India begins with a sanction. So there's an e-sanction. After the e-sanction, then there's an e-bill. There's a bill which is generated. Now we have completely digitalized the entire process. There's an e-bill. Then the e-bill is pushed actually to the concerned officer, who's authorized to prepare the bill and then push it to the account officer, the pay account officer. So he checks and conducts all the scrutiny, and then ultimately then he uploads the payment file on the portal of PFMS, which is integrated with all the 640 banks, and the credit gets passed on to the beneficiary. So the entire cycle, end-to-end system, there's no paper trail. We have been able to roll out e-bill in all the civil ministries. So therefore, every payment which is taking place is now happening in a paperless manner and a cashless manner, everything digital. You would have heard about one of the major objectives of Digital India Mission, which was launched in 2014. What was one of the most important objectives of Digital India? To make the government financial transactions paperless and cashless. Gone are the days like, when the bunch of the bills will come in and somebody will check and scrutinize. Now it's all e. And what e-bill has brought about, I'll come to it later, that the vendor now no longer need to visit an office. He can just upload his invoices, and then one can trace and track and ensure the efficiency of the payments. Efficiency of payments, timeliness of payments is very critical, right? I give example of the rush in the last week of March. You'd be surprised to know that the amount of releases through PFMS in the last week of March every year comes to around 2.5 to 3 lakh crores. Now that's the kind of money which gets pumped in the economy, whether it could be a beneficiary, it could be a vendor, it could be anyone else, right? So that's the kind of scale what we're talking about. Then the other mandate is obviously once you make the payment, then you make the accounts, it's all digitized, and the receipt collection. Now what PFMS has done, PFMS has brought together all the stakeholders of PFMS right from the central government. Let's take a centrally sponsored scheme. How does the fund flow? There's a ministry which is implementing a scheme. Then when you transfer the funds to the state, after all, it's a joint responsibility. Every centrally sponsored scheme gets implemented, designed, formulated by the central government, implemented by the state implementing agencies, right? So the fund flow, how does it take place? It goes from the central government ministry, it goes to RBI, RBI से फिर पैसा स्टेट ट्रेजरी में आता है, स्टेट ट्रेजरी से फिर उनका एक नोडल एजेंसी होती है, I'll come to the system of SNA, and from there it goes to the last mile agency and ultimately to the beneficiary in case if it pursues DBT.